Dumelang, welcome to Face the Nation. My name is Clement Manyatela. Great to have you with us here on SABC News. On the show tonight, how long are nightclubs going to be allowed to operate with impunity in this country? How long are private security personnel going to be allowed to be a law unto themselves and treat patrons in a barbaric, degrading and inhumane manner? What happened at the Zanzou nightclub in Pretoria is only the tip of the iceberg. So how should our government and authorities respond to avoid similar cases in the future? The MEC of Economic Development in Gauteng, Maile, joins us shortly. Also on the show, why is the MK Party President Jacob Zuma's former assistant at odds with the party? Isaac Leshona wrote a scathing open letter to MK Party supporters describing Zuma's daughter and Member of Parliament Duduzile as incompetent, and the MK Party Secretary General Floyd Shivambu as arrogant. The MK Party says he's never been a member of the party and was just Zuma's assistant, but he says that's not true. Well, we hear from him tonight. And then later, with all these cases of MK Party members speaking out against the leadership, is the party's disciplinary committee inundated with cases? Advocate Dali Mpofu is the head of the MK Party's disciplinary committee and joins us tonight. But first, my comment. So the country witnessed something tragic this week involving young men who were at a nightclub called Zanzou in Pretoria. It is understood that there was a dispute over the bill or a phone being stolen, because we're hearing different stories, and that led to these young men being stripped naked, abused, physically assaulted, waterboarded, and sexually assaulted by security personnel at the nightclub. They were treated in a manner that no democracy allows, even for the worst kind of criminals. There are videos that have been doing the rounds showing these young men being tortured, being forced into anal penetration with beer bottles, forced to perform sexual acts as punishment, and being tied, their faces covered with a cloth and water poured over them. This is all torture. Nobody deserves to be treated like that, whether they are criminals or they failed to pay the bill. But let's be honest, a lot of these nightclubs, together with their private security, have been allowed to be a law unto themselves for a while now. There are several that have abused workers, failed to comply with labor laws, assaulted people, failed to comply with liquor license conditions, and those establishments are still operating now with no accountability. And part of the problem is that some of our police officers are working with them. They're receiving bribes from these nightclubs, and in return, they protect them when they commit illegal acts. And for as long as these owners are protected by the police, forget it. It will continue to be business as usual. Parties will protest there, ministers will release statements, organizations will call for the establishments to be shut down, residents will be outraged. But what fundamental changes are we going to see with our nightclubs? Or are we going to protest and then allow clubs to do as they please until there's another incident of human rights abuse? Here are the police explaining what they're now searching for, which are 8 people in connection with this torture at Zanzou nightclub. And they've been confirming as well that they're investigating charges of rape, assault, crime and injuria, intimidation, and kidnapping.
I can confirm that late yesterday, 3 victims aged 20, 21 and 22 presented themselves at the Brooklyn Police Station, where our investigators that are attached to the Family Violence, Child Protection and Sexual Investigations Unit were assigned to work on this particular case. So our FCS unit is a unit within the SAPS which falls under our detectives, and it is solely responsible for investigating sexual-related crimes. So we can confirm that as of now, the charges that we are looking into are compelled rape, assault, kidnapping, crimen injuria.
Well, the Human Rights Commission has also added its voice.
The video is very, very shocking, very, very graphic. But there are clear rights that have been violated for the victim. What we would be doing, obviously, as the commission, we have opened our own accord investigation, and the first thing that we would want to get a response from is from the provincial commissioner on the measures that will be taken going forward and on the current status of this case. For us, it's also concerning that there are victims of a sexual assault, of a sexual offence, and we should be treating it in that same light as the commission. So we're taking it with that sensitivity in mind.
Not in My Name is an organization that's been in touch with the victims of this torture.
This issue actually happened in 2023 after these young men had just finished matric and were out there going to celebrate and, looking forward to the new year at Zanzou when they came across this unfortunate situation. So clearly they didn't want this thing to come out. And 3 of them have now, gotten the courage to go through to the police and lay charge against the perpetrators and Zanzou, the establishment. We know that 2 more need to come out. They are close, in fact, related as well. Some of the boys are cousins. So they will be coming out as soon as possible.
So the question we are asking you tonight is, what should be the appropriate sanction here? Because it's easy to take action on security personnel that perpetrated this assault and violence. But what about the restaurant owners? The license for the club may be temporarily suspended, a few security personnel may be arrested, but what happens to the owners? What accountability do they take? Because they often escape accountability. It's the lower hanging fruit that authorities often go for. You can share your thoughts with us by sending us a WhatsApp voice note on 078 459 1897. Remember to tell us your name and surname and where you're sending that voice note from. And please remember to keep it at 30 seconds. So alternatively, you can send us an X on @FaceTheNation SABC. Now, the Gauteng Economic Development and Finance MEC, Maile, says he's requested the Gauteng Liquor Board to temporarily suspend the operating license of Zanzou Nightclub while investigations continue. The MEC joins us now via video link. MEC, thank you so much for making time. Good evening.
Good evening, and thanks for having us.
So, as much as these entertainment venues are economic drivers, they are notorious for failing to follow proper legal channels, whether it's employee pay and now the abuse of their own patrons. They've been allowed to be a law unto themselves for a while now.
Yeah, and I think that's unfortunate, and that's why in the post that I posted earlier on X, I did say that though they are economic drivers, but they must operate within the boundaries of the law. And if there's disputes between the patrons and these institutions, there must be proper legal channels that must be followed. There's no excuse for the barbaric actions that we have seen. This is shocking, it's outrageous. I mean, 30 years after democracy, we can't be still having such a discussion. And as you correctly say, and the public is also within its right to be angry and to expect more, to expect better from government. And that's why we should act quick and decisively whenever such shameful acts are brought to the fore. And I'm happy that institutions like the Human Rights Commission are already taking action. And I think everyone must play their part. The police, the Human Rights Commission, our liquor board. That's why I said to the liquor board, can you please look at the law, what are your powers, how do you play your part, at least, because you can't license such establishments in our province.
Yeah, and you and many others are now calling for those responsible to be held accountable, as well as the suspension of their operating license. But then these establishments have a reputation of these violent bouncers and even underage drinking. We are all outraged now, but it's going to be business as usual in many establishments. So how do you ensure that what we have seen in these videos is not repeated by businesses operating within this province?
We've got liquor inspectors who work with the police and they visit these establishments. And I think what I can promise, because at least the liquor board is in the portfolio that I have a privilege to lead, is to heighten those visits and unannounced inspections in these. And I think I will personally join some of them, especially, and that's why the public must alert us so that we know where to go. And you don't just go in places that are peaceful. You know, there's no point. We need to try and be everywhere and respond quickly. And they must know that anytime inspectors or the police can come, because sometimes when they've got licenses, the inspectors don't go because they assume that because they are licensed, it means they will behave in a proper way. But the liquor inspectors are not law enforcement officers. We are just dealing with the licensing and compliance. The rest of the work would have to be done by the police, and our police, at least in the province, we've got a cooperating commissioner of the police and very responsive. So we are confident that when we suggest that we have to heighten some of these visits and unannounced inspections, the police will respond positively.
What action must be taken against management? Because they often escape accountability. I mean, even in this case, chances are security personnel will be the first to be arrested, but people who likely sanction these acts of abuse are likely to escape scot-free.
You know, it's true, and I think sometimes it's because the security personnel are the employees and they're trying to protect their jobs, but they must understand that once they commit crime, they're going to be prosecuted as individuals, and it is in their interest to not commit crime, firstly, but secondly, if they're given illegal instructions by their bosses, they must report this to the law enforcement, and they must cooperate with the law enforcement to ensure that the owners and the management that are issuing illegal instructions and perpetuating violence and human rights violations and abuse are brought to book.
I'm going to ask you, MEC, too, as we wrap up, to wear your other hat now. The ANC resolved to reconfigure the Gauteng PEC alongside with that of KwaZulu-Natal. What's the position now? There have been so many different reports on whether or not the reconfigurations have happened, or whether as leaderships in these provinces you're going to be consulted. What are you able to share with us?
Well, what I'll say is that it's something that you know, that ANC is a unitary organization. It's not a federal organization. And in the ANC, we subscribe to the principle of democratic centralism, meaning that there will be discussions, structures can be consulted, and once a decision has been taken by the upper structures of the ANC, that decision binds the lower structures. So at this point, as you know, the National Executive Committee took a decision that there would be reconfiguration and has delegated the National Working Committee. The National Working Committee has met, and it will be able to communicate to all of us, including the media and the public, on what is the outcome. Because I think I was not part of that meeting, so whatever I say to you, it will be discipline. I can't be expressing my views in public. So even if I do have a view, I have I have access
Yeah.
to the leadership of the ANC, the structures, but what I know is that a decision has been taken by the ANC and delegated to the NWC, and the NWC is seized with the matter, and once they are ready, they will certainly communicate to all of us.
All right. Economic.
And I must indicate that whatever decision that they have taken, we support that decision as disciplined members of the ANC. Will rally behind this, behind it, and we will focus on rebuilding our structures and making sure that we win the forthcoming local government elections, and we continue to serve the people in government.
All right. Lebogang Maile, thank you so much for making time for us on Face the Nation tonight. After the break, we'll speak to this gentleman, Isaac Leshona. He's the former assistant to the former President Jacob Zuma, now leader of the MK Party. The MK Party says, well, this man has never really been a member of the organization. He's got a different view. He'll share that with us when we return. Welcome back. MK Party leader Jacob Zuma's former aide, Isaac Leshona, has exposed glaring rifts among the party's leaders. In a striking public letter, he criticized Zuma's daughter, Duduzile Zuma-Sambudla, labeling her as incompetent and warning that she could harm the party's future. He also described the party's Secretary General, Floyd Shivambu, as arrogant. This follows Zuma's public outbursts against Shivambu, a confrontation she has since apologized for. Now, while the MK Party claims Leshona was dismissed nearly 7 months ago and is no longer the private secretary to President Zuma, he insists he is unaware of such a termination. He joins us now via video link. Isaac, thank you so much for making time for us on Face the Nation. Good evening.
Good evening, Clement. Thank you for inviting me over to come and face the nation.
Can we first confirm this? Are you still a member of the MK Party? And are you still doing work as a private secretary or assistant to President Jacob Zuma?
Well, I am prepared to go as far as to confirm that I'm a member of the MK Party. And as far as I'm concerned, my role as a private secretary has not been terminated, not at least officially. I only learned of it from the letter that I saw that was signed by Nhlamulo Ndlela. However, out of respect, as I mentioned in a response to them, out of respect of former President Jacob Zuma as a father figure to me, I'll not delve in processes that I personally instituted to try to remedy my employment conditions. Yes, I was. Yes, that's as far as I'm prepared to speak about my employment conditions, so as to give room for resolution.
Yeah. So to be clear,
Yes.
and to just clarify this, you were a private secretary to the president of the MK Party and not just a mere assistant as claimed by the party.
No, I was not just a mere assistant. In fact, Nhlamulo Ndlela himself knows precisely what my role is, and many others who, who I interacted with in the MK Party. I mean, a mere assistant would certainly not be attending national executive meetings, top 8 meetings. Then it was still the top 6, I think. A mere assistant would not be attending such strategic meetings. And a mere assistant would not be assigned the roles that I was assigned by former President Jacob Zuma. So what Nhlamulo wrote is unfortunately devoid of truth, and I just took it as trivia. This habit of spinning everything really can lead to unintended consequences. So I'd urge him in future to stick to facts.
So Floyd Shivambu says you are disgruntled. You were dismissed for incompetence, and they're saying that your membership remains unconfirmed.
Well, as far as I know, the MK Party had a problem with the membership database. I don't know if they fixed the challenges that were there with the membership database. So I don't know through which membership database is he checking me on. And I don't know why he would want to question my membership. Whoever is questioning it, I don't know why they would want to question it now, because, you know, I've been a member of MK Party. Before and after the elections, I have got, a track record of my contributions to the party. So I don't know why they want to trivialize things when it seems like things are derailing. They should rather, focus themselves on solving the issues that are now spilling out and may even derail the party's mission, original mission of foundation. Yeah.
Okay, let's briefly talk about the open letter that you have penned, because you've penned an open letter to address the fight between the MK Party Member of Parliament, Duduzile Zuma, and the MK Party's SG, Floyd Shivambu. You said Duduzile is the last person to call anybody incompetent. What do you mean by that?
Clement, for you to understand my letter fully, you would have to locate the MK Party within the broader context of the South African political stratosphere and the more broader context of the African Revolution. MK Party was founded for a purpose of liberating the masses of our people from particularly economic strife and economic straits. So now, if certain behaviors by any individual stands to jeopardize the work of MK Party, I feel that it is a duty of someone within the movement to call out that individual and say that, no, this will not be. So I happen to be that person now who stands up and calls out this, this individual. It could have been this comrade Duduzile or any other comrade for that matter.
But when you say she's incompetent,
precisely what I'm doing.
Yeah, what do you mean though when you refer to her as incompetent? Are you talking about for the role she's played as someone who was maybe responsible for her dad's private office? Are you talking about her role as one of the leaders in the MK Party, as a member of parliament? What incompetence did you exactly identify?
Well, I went into some detail in the letter of the incompetence that I identified concerning or regarding Comrade Duduzile. The matter about her, the way in which she handled her issues with Comrade Floyd further put a spotlight on her type of behavior and also on MK Party. It portrayed us in bad light. So where I am coming from is in defense of the party and not particularly to attack any individual. It's because I love the party and I believe in what it is doing, what it was established for.
And I understand that, Isaac, but I mean, if we saw your letter, it does attack her, because if you were concerned about her behavior, you could have just pointed out to how she behaved, and you call that out, which is why I'm asking. You were very clear in that letter to say you are incompetent. So I wanted to know what are you referring to when you talk about her incompetence? Because even with Floyd Shivambu, in your open letter you said Floyd's arrogance and failure to familiarize himself with the ground adds to the MK Party's instability. What makes you think even Floyd is arrogant?
Yes, okay. The issue with Comrade Duduzile is that he was the custodian of documents pertaining the office of the president. And such documents would inadvertently include parliamentary lists and or all such correspondence. So if then external elements are able to infiltrate these lists under her watch to an extent that we try to fix the lists after the elections and we lose some court cases. That essentially is the hallmark of incompetence now, because now we look very clumsy in the eyes of our potential voters. We look very clumsy in the eyes of people who entrusted us, the 2.3 million people who entrusted us with the vote. They thought that we were the real deal. They think that we are the real deal, and we have to prove that we are the real deal. And also, when we deploy parliamentarians, we are not deploying people who are going to fill up space there. We are deploying people who are going to advance the policies that MK party believes in. And we've seen very little of that from this particular comrade. Hence, I was saying that she's incompetent. And I was not trying to attack her person. It could have been any other person that was in that office and that spoke those, expletives towards the Secretary General of the party. And I would have called them out. So it was not necessarily a personal agenda as it would seem, or as anyone would misconstrue it. You understand? And then regarding Comrade Floyd Shivambu, the way MK party is built is that, especially towards elections, a lot of the functions were centralized. We had many members of the party in leadership, and even some not in leadership, who would come to the office of the president and come with queries, inquiries, the reports, etc. So I and a certain comrade named Comrade Tulani Shongwe, who was the chief of staff then, and also DSG at some point, we were in the office of the president, and we received a lot of those reports and handled a lot of those meetings with the president, and sometimes alone without the president. So we were almost the central point of the party where all correspondence came to us, because everyone was routing everything through the president. So then, what could have been a gap for Comrade Floyd was that I don't think that he even spoke with a Comrade Tulane for a debrief. He didn't speak with me, certainly, although I reached out.
Just a quick one, then, Isaac. I'm just watching the time here. There are people who are asking, what gives you the authority to speak on such matters using the MK party's profile? Because I think your open letter has the MK party's logo. And what I mean by that is that when you are writing an open letter that is not sanctioned by an organization, you don't go and use their logo as if it's sanctioned by them. For instance, I work for the SABC. I can't use an SABC letterhead or logo to go and attack or insult or criticize SABC leaders and share my opinions as an open letter. I mean, that would be seen as untoward. Don't you agree?
Well, I wrote in my capacity as the private secretary, and I signed it off as such, and I stand by that.
But my understanding is that you stopped being the private secretary.
And I didn't insult. Yes, and I don't think I insulted anyone. I don't think I attacked anyone. I was just plain basic, and I chose not to be economic with the truth.
Yeah, but my understanding is that you stopped being the private secretary to President Zuma in December. This is something you confirmed with the producer as well. So you are no longer in that position.
No, that's not what I said. I said that I ceased doing the functions so as to address the issues that I'm addressing currently with the party and the office of the president.
Yeah, but the point is you ceased occupying that role, whether temporarily or not. You ceased occupying it in December. So then why did you sign this letter on the 11th of February, 2 months after you stopped working as a private secretary to the president, and you signing it off as private secretary?
You are the one who is insisting that I ceased being the private secretary, while I'm simply saying that I seized the functions of that role in as far as, receiving particularly whatever correspondence and forwarding it to him, yes.
Yeah, but Isaac, let's be real
I still
here.
consider myself as the private secretary until I either resign or I am fired by the party. But the communication that came from Samulo seems to say that I've been fired, but it was certainly
also, it's not in
7 months ago.
Samulo, it's the party.
It was definitely not.
Yeah, it's not in Samulo, it's the MK party. And you and I, Isaac, know that you are not going back to that position as the assistant to the president. And you know that you may refer to Nhlamulo, but what Nhlamulo sent out is what was sanctioned by the organization, including the man that you consider as a father that you worked for, Jacob Zuma. If he disagreed with how you're being treated, he would have said something a long time ago.
Well, the only correspondence which indicates any treatment is that letter, and it's now a couple of days old, so I wouldn't jump to the gun and conclude that Jacob Zuma said or didn't say anything.
Okay.
I saw that the correspondence was signed off by a comrade in Samulonle. So I won't delve into higgy haggers of, unconfirmed nature.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Isaac Leshona, thank you so much for speaking to us, and all the best. That's the former...
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
That's the former aide or assistant to the former President Jacob Zuma, who is the leader of the MK party. He seems to still think somehow he's going to go back to that job. The same way that Mary Padi thought that while he's still fighting the organization in court, somehow he'll be able to appeal to Jacob Zuma so that he can hear her and somehow resolve the issues. And how many months has it been now since Mary Padi went to court? And still, the organization, including Jacob Zuma, have still taken the same position they took against her. So all the best to him. After the break, we'll speak to the man who's in charge of the disciplinary committee in the MK party, Advocate Dali Mpofu. Stay with us. Welcome back. Now, the question we've been asking you tonight is what action you think should be taken against the Zanzou nightclub management after videos emerged showing the torture and abuse of patrons. Some of your tweets that have come through, Buhle says, Zanzou nightclub must be held accountable. They should be investigated. Their license must be revoked, and those responsible for this incident or recent act must be prosecuted. There's no room for abuse in nightlife. Justice for the victims. Bongani says the management and the bouncers working there should be held accountable. All establishments by the same owner should be investigated, because what are the chances they do that all at their establishments? Mogale says what's clear is that the full extent of the law must be visited on Zanzou, but the fact that these despicable crimes were committed in 2023 points to the monumental failure of the country's crime intelligence capabilities. That's where our focus should be. Bono says the management must account for the ruthless abuse that has been happening in that bar. They must be stripped of their operating license. No human being deserves to be treated like that. The law enforcement agencies must act fast to bring the perpetrators to book. All right, thank you so much for all of your tweets. We also received some WhatsApp voice notes that have come through responding to that question. So let's take a listen to some of what you've had to say on our voice note line.
Hi Clement, I think the best action to be taken against that Zanzou bar nightclub is to close it permanently, so that they can send a strong message to all the nightclubs and to all those who take law unto themselves that the government will not tolerate it. I'm Skombuzo Kababa in Cliptown.
Sam Alepotrico Pisclimen Dumela. It must just be shut down. We cannot afford to see people treated like animals at this time of our aging democracy. Even animals have SPCA to protect them. It saddens to learn that the police who are supposed to be defending are powerless due to the bribes they continuously receive. Let that nightclub be closed down, Clement. Bye-bye.
Thank you for your WhatsApp voice notes and tweets. Let's move to this now. The MK party has appointed Advocate Dali Mpofu as chairperson of its National Disciplinary Committee and Dr. John Hlophe as chairperson of the Appeals Committee to strengthen its internal dispute resolutions amid ongoing divisions in the party. Recently, an internal disciplinary process was initiated against the Member of Parliament Duduzile Zuma for insulting the party's Secretary General Floyd Shivambu, although she has since apologized for that. In Mpumalanga, you've got tensions there rising over the province's rightful leader as two separate rallies were held this past weekend, forcing supporters to choose sides. The chairperson of the National Disciplinary Committee, Advocate Dali Mpofu, joins me now in studio. Advocate, thank you so much for making time. Good evening.
Good evening. Always a pleasure, Clement.
Congratulations on your appointment as well as the head of the Disciplinary Committee. And this is where I want us to start. How is the committee going to function? What's your role?
Right. Okay, the committee is defined in the Constitution, which was launched towards the end of last year. And effectively, the Constitution is in two parts. It's the Constitution, that deals with the normal structures of the organization. And then there's the Disciplinary Code of Conduct, which is where we come in. But so in terms of functioning, I'll define the process very quickly. So what happens is a member does something, somebody complains, it goes to a national prosecutor. They screen it. If they think that there's sufficient prima facie evidence, then it's forwarded to us in the NDC. And then the normal, then we put up a panel, the normal processes unfold,
Have you taken up any cases yet? Because there are cases that have been, I imagine, are there cases that have been referred to the committee already?
Yes, they have. There's even one that has been completed. In fact, we will be processing one of those this week to the national officials. And once it's confirmed there, then obviously the affected member will be communicated to. And there are about, I think, 2 in the pipeline now, and another one where we just put up a panel to do with the Peter Maritzburg by-election.
Are you also dealing with the matter involving the president's daughter, Duduzile? Because when the president released a statement after she insulted Floyd Shivambu on social media, the statement from the president's office said, and I quote, "The apologies must be made immediately. Following this, an internal disciplinary process will be initiated in accordance with the MK party's constitution," end quote. Is that disciplinary process already underway?
No, it's not, because you see, it goes back to your original question. There are 2 streams of how matters get dealt with in the MK party. So if there's a transgression which is being handled by the national officials, for example, they have a right actually to summarily terminate your membership if you are still in the probation period, or it gets referred to us. So until it gets referred to the NDC, we can't initiate ourselves, because that would be double like a conflict.
So if anybody violates the disciplinary code of conduct, you can take up that issue as the disciplinary committee. It has to be referred to you.
Yes, of course. Just like, otherwise it would be like a judge going to the police station to complain. Then that same judge cannot sit in the matter, because we can be the prosecutor, the complainant, the police, and also the disciplinary committee. That would be incorrect.
But when we look at the party's constitution, her actions constituted a direct violation of the party's disciplinary code of conduct. Am I correct?
Well, obviously, I can't prejudge the issue before it comes to us. But what I know is that whatever would have provoked the office of the president to issue a statement means that there was a concern. And so by the time it comes to us, either as a complaint from a member, any member is free to complain, by the way, or being referred to by the structures, by the higher structures. Either way, we will deal with it like any other member. There's no special rules for any special person. Anyone, myself, whoever it is subject to the same constitution.
Yeah, and I will follow this up maybe with the Secretary General to understand why this matter was not referred to the disciplinary committee, because the statement from the presidency said after she apologizes, there will be a disciplinary process that unfolds. And the statement itself acknowledges that this is in direct violation of the party's disciplinary code of conduct. So
yes,
we don't want to be seen as a party to be treating her differently because her father is the leader.
No, but that's exactly the point I'm making. We cannot treat her differently by changing the rules. For example, jumping in before the processes have happened. She must be treated like any other member. And that's the whole point. And I think that if anybody is watching this, you can be sure that former President Zuma has made it clear that there are no members that are going to be treated differently.
Yeah.
The point about that, maybe to assist you there, Clement, is that the officials meet weekly and sometimes bi-weekly. And I know this week, I think they're meeting tomorrow. So if there's anything for them to process, they will process it to us. Yeah.
All right. We'll follow up after that meeting tomorrow. How are you going to make sure that as the disciplinary committee, you are fair also in the execution of your responsibility? So whether someone is related or close to the leader, and you are assuring the MK party members that they will be held accountable? Absolutely.
Plays no role whatsoever. Who you are, if you're a member, all members are the same. Remember, Clement, and if just allow me, this is not like some, tea and biscuit party. It's a revolutionary movement. So the discipline is the backbone of such a movement. We are in a war here, a war that doesn't use bullets but use ballots. But nevertheless, it's a war. So you can't have a war and then no discipline, because then you'll never win that war. So that's the approach. So this is discipline that is meant to achieve the goals and the aspirations of our people. So it's not negotiable, the question of discipline. You just can't. I mean, if you want to lose a war, you must then have this one marching this way, the other one marching that way. You can't.
So what's happening with Mary Party? She was fired as the convener of the Mpumalanga. She challenged that in court and she won. And then as the MK party, you appointed Busisiwe Mkhwebane as the leader of the MK party in Mpumalanga. Mary Party says you're contravening the court order. Is her matter on the disciplinary committee's agenda yet?
Well, it is also in the sense that it is on the agenda of the officials. So I should think that sooner or later it will also be referred to us. I know for a fact that there were two approaches which were being negotiated. One was either to challenge the so-called court outcome, because that was done without in the absence of MK, or to simply just start the processes, the internal processes of the party. And I should think that the prudent thing to do would be to just trigger the internal processes of the party.
Yeah, she had an event this past weekend, the same day as Busisiwe Mkhwebane's MK event, and her event seemed to have had a lot of supporters of the MK party. I interviewed Busisiwe Mkhwebane just a Monday after that weekend, and Busisiwe Mkhwebane confirmed that the people who were there are MK supporters. They're just confused. Is there a case to make here that MK party supporters or members who supported her and attended her event, Mary Party, will have action taken against them?
Well, in theory, yes, depending on whether if they were misled, obviously, then they will speak for themselves. But the point of the matter is that, as you would know, it is obviously not allowed to have unauthorized events or unauthorized interviews like this chap you are talking to now. If you regard yourself as a member, there are specific rules about that. For example, about taking the organization to court without exhausting internal remedies. That is all spelled out in the Constitution unambiguously.
Yes, and the reason I'm asking that, Advocate Mpofu, is that Busisiwe Mkhwebane said, when I asked, will action be taken against people who went to an event organized by someone who's suspended by the party, who's already taken the party to court? And Busisiwe Mkhwebane says, no, there won't be action taken against them for attending that rally hosted by a suspended leader because they were confused or misled by the leaders.
That's what I'm saying. If they went there in a bona fide belief, because if I call some factional meeting tomorrow here in Sandton, people will come thinking that it's sanctioned. They're not going to say to me, are you sure that it's sanctioned? Where's the letter? Did you speak to the SG? Did you speak to the president? So they might come there under that pretext. But if I knowingly call them there knowing that it's not authorized, I mean, what we mean by discipline is exactly what you would understand in a normal, even myself, as the chair of the NDC, when I come to your interview here, I have to go through the structures of the organization and say, I'm going to go to Clement and this and that and the other. So it's not that there are no special people who have special rules.
Yeah, and Busiswe Mkhobane has done many interviews. I've spoken to her many times where she also calls on MK members in the province to know that she's the legitimate leader. So any MK member who somehow claims that, oh, I went to Mary Paddy's event because I was confused, I mean, that's a bit weird.
Look, Clement, I cannot preempt what people will say. All I'm saying is that if it comes to the disciplinary structures, politically it can be dealt with in a different way. But to the disciplinary structures, you can say anything, whether it's true or false, and you'll be found out because there'll be cross-examination and there'll be, you know, a normal disciplinary process like you have here at the SABC. Okay.
I want to, just before we wrap up, also ask you about you posted a wonderful picture with you, Floyd, and Buyiseni Ndlozi, where you said maybe we should write a book called The Three Betrayers. I mean, you jokingly said that. Of course, and Buyiseni Ndlozi responded and said, that's so petty, I totally reject this tweet, both its latter and spirit. Where was the misunderstanding there?
No, there's no misunderstanding. I mean, it's a free platform. People communicate, I communicate what I want to communicate, and then thousands of others communicate whatever they want to communicate. I don't even read the reactions myself.
You guys didn't talk about it, what he meant by that?
No, I didn't. I've been too busy, you know, preparing for something big for next week.
Okay, when was the picture taken though?
On Wednesday, Thursday, last week. I think,
Okay. I want to quickly ask about the need for black parties to come together and work, because that's something that the EFF, the MK party, before this sort of conflict started, what you intention. But when you look at the EFF, I mean, Julius Malema has really taken a hard position against the MK party. He wants nothing to do with you guys, and some people understand.
You mustn't even attend funerals.
Yeah, you mustn't even be at the funeral. And some people understand that because they feel really you guys betrayed him in the manner with which you left the economic freedom fighters. What happens then to that vision of black parties coming together? I mean, you are the two big black parties in parliament.
Look, Clement, it's a pity, as I say, for any project, particularly as big as this one of black unity. You can't expect that it's going to be plain sailing. I mean, it's something that has eluded us for centuries, maybe. So I think it would be foolhardy for anyone to think it's going to happen in a couple of weeks. There will be setbacks, but those setbacks will be overcome because we are very determined. This is one project as a MK party that we're going to pursue to the death, as it were. And so black people are going to unite. Yes, there will be hiccups. Yes, there will be sort of dissension. But I think that it's not even in our hands. It's in the hands of the voters. I am quite sure that the time is going to come where the voters will punish those who are against black unity, because it's the only way. It's but the only way that we are going to achieve the goals of our revolution. So, you know, it's not about individuals. And it's laughable. The notion that to leave a party is betrayal is just absolute nonsense.
Except the difference, Advocate, is that after Floyd Shivambu left, you were sitting here and you were shocked and saddened by his departure.
Well, we've gone through this. This is the second time you're asking me the same question. And I think I explained it, so maybe you can play the previous interview. The point I'm making now is that Robert Sobukwe left the ANC because he was disgruntled with whatever he was disgruntled with. Many people have left organizations. It's a free country You can join, you can leave, you can do whatever you want. Many people left the ANC to join the EFF. Are they betrayers and all these things? I mean, that kind of childish behavior is really has no place in serious revolutionary politics. I think the idea that for people, I mean, there are people who left, who even folded up their organizations, I think, and to join either the EFF or the MK party. So, you know, that's what happens. It's a free country. So we must just deal with it, quite frankly.
Advocate, thank you so much for sitting with us tonight.
Thank you.
And thanks to you for watching the Tuesday edition of Face the Nation. We'll be back with you on Thursday at 8 p.m. Thanks for watching. Cheers.